All right. Well, we're all broadcasting now, so I'm glad to have you back on, Gary. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's really great to be here and to. I've been saying, for years, let's finish the year strong. This year, I'm just saying, let's finish the year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. Boy, let's just get it over with and move on to a fresh new one.
A
So,
fresh new one with all the exciting, unpredictable things that it has in store for us.
right. Mhm.
Right. I would say right now it's all about positive visioning and, really planning a great year ahead. I think that if we were to reflect about our 2020 experience, I think a majority of us would say, wow, what a lesson I've learned in the past year. I mean, just think about the growth and the mindset expansion that we've had in this year. Although it's been tough and everyone says 2020 sucks. 2020 is, oh my gosh, it just needs to end. But when you really sit back and count your blessings, I mean, look how much we've grown as a society,
That's right.
myself included. I mean, if I think about where my mindset was at in February of 2020, where my mindset is at today, I think a lot of my synapses in my brain have just imploded.
Sometimes it's really, I'll use the word sucks when you have to live what you speak. And, my phrase of launch and adjust is what I've had to do this year. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been, as productive, but it has been beneficial. And like you're saying, all the things that we had in front of us that we got into a rut. And it's only when we're really tilted off center that our creativity kicks in. And many times it allows us to open up more avenues, different avenues that we weren't stimulated to do before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think that's a great perspective that you were talking about there, Shar, and Gary as well. I mean, that just having that positive attitude, thinking about the things that have actually went well this year, and preparing for the next year. I think it's important to keep that positive outlook. So.
Well, I have to say, just watching those of us that have been cooped up at home with the Netflix and the streaming and the lives and all of those different things. I mean, it not that we're sitting all around and watching Netflix all the time or Amazon Prime or what have you. If you want to really pay attention to what now is on the media stream, there's a lot of really recent things about the actual era and transformation that we are living in right now, and how it's being reflected with our younger generation, and how what we're finding as like entertainment. So for example, I'll give an example. I recently found, and I'm not advertising for them at all, but I recently found the Masterclass. Masterclass is essentially, masters of experts that are everybody from Steve Martin and Wolfgang Puck and FBI agents that teach you negotiation and everything under the sun. Famous photographers. For example, the photographer, I can't think of her name, but the one that was a photographer for John Lennon and David Bowie. And anyway, she teaches like how to be an excellent photographer. Anyway, there's a subscription to this, but it's a masterclass online streaming that teaches you all these art and expertise. And it essentially is a way to learn in this difficult time that people can do from their homes, and not have to venture out,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that new concept, I was never there in 2019.
Right.
It's like we had like pockets of learning things like what we all do, like little podcasts or Zoom master classes or what have you. I think that we are now in a whole new era around learning and development and at learning around passions and excitement and what we love. And there's all these new technologies out there that people can look into and have on their iPads and their laptops. So I'm a big fan of it. I think that, I don't know, I'm not a learning expert, but I would say that this whole era of learning and development and growing around your passions and what you can do differently is imploding right now in the virtual space. So it's kind of my new passion right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's so many cool apps that just came out, or ones that have been around for a while that I've been thinking about just to ramp up on learning for next year. I mean, even on things such as meditation, like Headspace, and getting, having more of a balanced lifestyle. Now that I just feel like that I'm spending too much time behind the computer. I need to take some breaks. When working at home and so forth. I mean, it's just almost like 24/7. So just need to get out, exercise, take some breaks, do some learning activities. I also doing that Blink list, which is the book summaries, which are pretty cool. I do those every morning. So a lot of new things that came out this year, and I think that people are starting to adopt them. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it is at the top of the hour, gentlemen, I think, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
It's at the top of the hour here in Central Time Zone here in Mexico. It's a Mountain Time, 10 a.m. But so why don't we go ahead and get going? Super excited to do another session of our People Strategies Forum. And thank you all. I know it's the holiday period. We are so excited for everyone to enjoy their holidays and all they've done just to celebrate their families, their loved ones. And, even though it's not been the easiest year, it's a very special time of year. And now we're looking into our brand new year. This is like one of the most special, I would say, New Year's time, because we all can refresh, refocus, and look at new times ahead. So welcome. This is the People Strategy Forum. And as you can see on the screen here, this is the mastermind of leaders. We dedicate creating workplaces and where people thrive, employers and rewards, and customers love. So this is a great forum for business leaders, CEOs, executives, HR leaders, people strategists, as well as individuals. I would say individuals going through career transformation, or just want to be enlightened and learn about going into the new year. So welcome. I am one of your happy hosts, as I have been for most of the year. My name is Shar Miller. I am a people strategist, and that have also gone through a tremendous transformation in my life and career, even more recently, more than ever. I am a career coach. I do HR with the heart. I also have a company called Rocky Mountain Health Advocates, where I've utilized all of these career transformation strategies within my own company, small startup company. And then also I'm just very proud and honored to be a people strategist with CompTeam. And so next I'd like to introduce Sam Reeve. He is a reward strategist, amazing, bright, talented individual. He is the CEO and founder of CompTeam. He's got a dynamic group of talent and individuals. And really it's CompTeam that's really sponsored us alongside with something called the TMA method, which we will explain in a few. Lisa Jackson is with Corporate Pros, and she is a culture change strategist, and she's traveling today. Actually, she's going to come see me in person, so you'll get to see her later next week, and she's joining us as well, and an expert in culture. And then Sumit Singla has been also a people strategist, and I have to tell you, take a look at his background. it will rock your world if you look at some of the companies he's worked with, like Deloitte and some other famous culture and change strategy organizations. So just want to move to, before I introduce our glorious guest speaker, I just want to mention that we have, this is our sponsor real quick. This is the TMA method, and this is the organization that you're going to absolutely learn to love about. And it is a key driver for driving performance through competencies, talents, skill sets, drives, and it's just phenomenal. I mean, it's so easy to use, and our team has been sponsoring this. And I'd like to give Sam, maybe you have a few comments about our TMA as our sponsor.
Yeah, so one thing, I mean, a lot of you have been with us for quite some time, and through every session, and for our listeners, we provide a free gift of having the talent assessment. So if you haven't taken a talent assessment yet with the TMA, I encourage you to do so. It comes with a free coaching session, and there's a lot of information here, such as you can dive into just the type of competencies that you're wanting to build for your particular role, or there's a lot of different manager apps that we can take you through, and it can show you the system as well if you're interested. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll. Here you can sign up for the portal access. So we give that for 1 year, where you can go in and look at your personal development and growth. And then also you can also reserve some time with Shar, myself, or anyone else on the team, or especially Gary, who is our special guest today. So if you'd like to do that, you can sign up as well. So when you're done using that polling, you can just minimize it, or if you want to revisit at the later on, but that'll be available to you.
Great. And I have personally used the TMA as well as all of its methodology with our talent management strategies with my own personal organization. And I have to tell you, it's made a tremendous difference. My company has been thriving utilizing these materials. And also logistically today for our forum, please notice that there's a chat at the bottom of your screen, as well as a Q&A. Please participate with us. We love to hear from you. We will engage with you throughout the conversation today and address personally any of the conversations that you'd like to have. And sometimes we can actually promote you to actually be one of our panelists if you'd like to actually participate in person with us on a conversation. So also, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and present our guest speaker, Mr. Gary Barnes. He's a business coach, and I have to tell you, Gary has been just a delight. He's all over social media. He is well known, and he is just a breakthrough business mastery coach. And his tools, skill set, mind, mastery has been a blessing, and we really enjoy him. He's a best-selling author. He's a TED Talk speaker, and he's an awesome guy. So I would like Gary to actually introduce more about himself and get going on his topic. So hello, Gary. Welcome again. Welcome to your Happy New Year portion of our forum. Hi, Gary.
Well, thank you, Shar and Sam. It's always a pleasure to be back with you guys. And it's a unique opportunity because we are at the end of the year and the start of a new year. And I think, most times we're really anticipating all of the freshness, the newness of the new year. This year is going to be a little bit different. We were talking right before the program that I've always said I really want to end the year strong. And this year, I just want to end the year. But, it's just one of those things that we get to adjust to. And so real quickly, my background is theology and psychology in college. So obviously I went into real estate right after that. There's a story behind that, but we won't go into it. And did that for about 7-8 years, and then built one of the very first financial planning firms in the nation. uh, and built it to the top 3% in production as a solo producer. Didn't even know I did it until it's a security, it's called an OSJ, where we were doing an audit, and he said, "Do you realize what you've done?" And I go, "Created a lifestyle for my family." And yeah, so it was one of those things that after 30 some years, the industry did change, and I decided that I was going to do something different, and organically ended up into the coaching arena. And I've been a public speaker my entire career. So that was natural. But the thing that I didn't anticipate was becoming an author. I Writing is painful for me, and so obviously I have 9 books out. You know, it really is an interesting transition. And during the middle part of that, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1988, was told I would be dead or in a wheelchair within 10 years. 6 months later, I was diagnosed with the second worst case of sleep apnea in the state, but the first one died. So I became number one, always wanted to be number one in something. And so, you know, the things that we were talking about earlier before the program, it's about adjusting. And, you know, we've always had to do something around adjustments in any year. This just happens to be very unique that it's worldwide. I think most of us really remember 9/11. I was sitting watching the second plane go into the tower live, and I thought it was a movie and was wondering how would we ever get through that. But out of that, we have come out stronger. We have come out with other modalities. I mean, it's just like, you know, you think back even 10 years, it's, you know, the smartphone. How old is the smartphone? You know, I think it's what, less than 20 years?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like, wow. And it's always stimulated by adversity. Growth only happens in adversarial situations out of a need. It doesn't have to be as much as we're facing right now. But so anyway, that's kind of in a nutshell. I'm the kid next door. I like jumping off buildings, flying airplanes, you know, walking on fire, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah.
So I know, Gary, that you know, today's topic is we're talking about how leaders can you know, think about and improve, you know, in prepare for 2021. And I know that when I was, you know, of course, reading your bio and so forth, I mean, you've done over, I mean, you've mentioned you speak as a professional for your entire life, over 1,000 speaking events over that period of time. So you must have spoken a lot about the topic of leadership, and as you mentioned, you've gone through a lot of adversity, you know, yourself, and had to be resilient and adapt and so forth. And I'm so glad that you have achieved that, and you're here to talk to us today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But tell us about some of the main things that you talk to leaders about as far as preparing for the next year and what they should be thinking about.
I think one of the real key points for me anyway is realizing that I cannot control the stimulus, the things that happen to us, the things in the economy. Even when we look at elections, can we really, you know, have a real big impact there? But what we do have total control over is our response to that. And so, unfortunately, what I've seen with many people in many different industries, because I coach, it's not just one industry, it's from startups, middle corporations, all the way up to manufacturing firms, is some of them have decided to sit on the sidelines. And when you do that, you lose your momentum. And when you lose your momentum, many times you're not able to get going again. And your competition, the people that are being seen are the people that you're serving still need you. And when we sit on the sidelines, that's when really bad things happen. I remember back in the day when we were talking about recessions and depressions, is that a recession is when a lot of people are thinking bad thoughts. A depression is when everybody is. And what that does is it has everyone restrict what they're doing, restricting their investment in marketing and the outreach to be seen. And today, unfortunately, a lot of the marketing that we do really has a very low or no cost connection to it, but we're not utilizing it. We're not being seen. On one of the previous shows, I talked about the 3 keys for success in any business: to be seen. Don't be if you're the best kept secret, nothing's going to happen. To be safe, go out with no agenda. Give away your good stuff. Actually provide a lot of content, a lot of value. And number 3 is be relevant, not only that you have something that is needed, but also desired. And when you have all those 3 things and still have that ability to show up and be relevant for people, you'll become a people magnet. And it's really a decision. I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live tomorrow because I saw a new, or I actually saw new, it's a song by George Jones. He's a fairly older country singer. But the song title was "Who's Going to Fill Their Shoes?" And the song really is about people that have gone before, the leaders, that some are not here, some are retired, but who's going to fill their shoes? And my topic tomorrow is who's going to fill your shoes?
Hmm.
And it's a choice, and leaders lead. That's the crazy thing about leadership. Leadership is not bestowed. Leadership is something that we put on in the morning and we decide to do it. We showcase, but I think that in our society, we have also been a very sensitive to being criticized. Who do you think you are? Don't you know that? But leaders lead.
Yeah.
Well,
I think,
oh, go ahead.
no, sure. Go ahead, please.
Oh no, I just have to tell you, when I talked about earlier when we were first starting our chat today, I would say when I talked about the growth period of my year, and I remember when Sam and I were first starting these forums, and we were, kind of practicing, like, what are we going to put on the little video, the little snippet that we're going to put on LinkedIn, and how can we make sure that it's perfectly crafted, and how is the lighting going to look, and exactly what we're going to say, and make sure that our message is clear. Well, it's pretty fascinating, even on a personal perspective. I mean, look at me right now. I mean, I'm in some spare bedroom right now. Okay. I've had some internet issues. I've had some lighting issues. Everything is not 100% perfect. But I will tell you that even if somebody were to watch some of our original videos on the People Strategy forums and then watch our People Strategy forums even today, I would say that they're far more authentic, they're more real, more conversational. We're relating more in depthly with our guest speakers. And it's not this like orchestrated cookie cutter conversation. And then I would say on my own staff meetings are also becoming that same way. Mm-hmm. Some of my employees are sitting on their back porch and goodness forbid have a vape thing in their hand because they're relaxing in not marijuana, but they're just they're just kind of relaxing in their home environment.
Yeah.
The dogs are barking in the background. The women are not, their hair is not all ideal. It's just it's far more real now. And I think because we're in our natural environment, we're having true authentic conversations, just like you would if you were sitting in the evening on a couch and then having a heart-to-heart conversation about your business strategy. It's not like this. We're stuck in a stagnant boardroom, and we're talking over an outline or a PowerPoint. It's like we are finally like having a different kind of conversation than we were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think that's been the big theme this year, is being more real, more humanistic. I mean, not only with our employees, but with ourselves as well. I mean, in going ahead with with what I call imperfect action. You know, that we've been thrown into an environment where we didn't expect, we were not used to, we had nothing's happened like this before, that in our lifetimes quite like this. And so we just need to go ahead and use this and adapt to it as we go, right? And it doesn't need to be perfect, but we need to be resilient and march on. Would you agree, Gary?
Yeah, I'm reminded of, I believe it was Kevin Roberts that said, you don't have to be good to get started, but you have to get started to be good.
Mm.
And that's the thing that most of us really forget, particularly if we've been doing what we do for a while. And people see me and they go, wow, I go, but I had this happen to me, a couple of years ago. Somebody had heard me speak, and they had heard me speak a long time ago, and they go, "You got good." oh golly, how bad? No, you weren't that bad, but you got good.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, got good. Here we go. But it is that, being we're in brand new territory, and to be willing to look out and say, how do I adjust to this? One of my Garyisms that I've talked about is launch and adjust. And until you launch, you don't know what the adjustment's going to be. I do events, and because of the restrictions that we had in September, I added on the virtual side that I didn't want to do. If I hadn't had the restrictions, I would not have done that. But because of that, we expanded our international market. And so where is the benefit in what we're having? It's not, we have a tendency to think about what we lost or what we're losing, and none of us, most of the time, I can only speak for me. I don't like change. But when we do it, then we are opening up brand new opportunities, possibilities. We think back at some of the fathers of invention, the mothers of invention. We wouldn't have airplanes. I don't understand computers. I don't understand the microphones, the cameras, but I sure enjoy using them.
Yeah.
Somebody had to go out on a limb to create this and this environment for us that we needed today. That's the interesting thing too, that just occurred to me. When these were invented, we didn't need them the way we do today. But if they hadn't done it then, we wouldn't have it now.
Right. And we were talking about it earlier as far as, big goals for 2021. And as you mentioned, Gary, I mean, one of those is development. You were talking about succession planning and developing those people below you to make your business more robust and so forth. But I would like to hear from the audience. You go ahead and use the chat and let us know what you're thinking, what your big rocks are for 2021. What are you thinking about doing and planning for that? We'd like to hear what you have to say there. And what other things are you finding that are themes for next year as far as leadership activities?
I think, and we've heard it before, putting high touch into high tech. I think it's critically important today to do that. One of the things that, even with the COVID restrictions that we've been having, I did the in-person in September, and people were coming up to me saying, thank you so much for doing this, because we needed that human connection. We can get a lot from what we're doing today, and to be able to reach across thousands of miles and to be able to communicate and have an impact with people. But that human connection, that human touch, if we don't keep that in play, if we're not cognizant of how are we going to do that, I think we're going to lose a segment of society that is just wanting that so badly, and they need it. And it's actually proven, it's called failure to thrive. In babies, if they're not touched, they will fail to thrive. We're seeing this in the nursing homes and with Alzheimer's patients particularly, that they are not lasting because they're in isolation and they're passing away, not because of COVID, but because of the restrictions of COVID. And so as we're looking at our marketing, how do we put that touch in? How do we become not just so analytical and technically connected, but how do we pull out that human side? How do we make that impact and to keep those threads together just on an individual to where it's a meaningful conversation, not just a tactical topic driven one?
Right. Are there activities that companies can do to kind of bring those things together? I mean, this year we've seen a lot of social events that companies are trying to do um, remotely, such as, whether they may be, uh, the share, doing yoga on the screen and with your employees, and or things that keep them engaged, or having the happy hours and so forth. But are there other things that we should be thinking about in part of the recovery in next year? Hopefully we'll be able to get back in the office and be doing things. What should we be thinking about?
I think one of the things, if we're not able to physically engage because either a distance or because of restrictions, because of COVID restrictions, one of the things that I have always done, but I've started doing it more intently and more often, is sending gifts,
Ah,
sending something in the mail. We all love to open things up. And it's amazing how sometimes we think the item isn't that important, but when I give you something, it becomes an anchor. And that's what I look for, is not to just send out a pen or whatever that could just get thrown in a jar, or in a drawer, but what is it that could have a meaning, an anchor to that person that maybe sits on their desk? That's a reminder of the mission, of the purpose, why we're all engaged in a certain connection. What is the impact that we're having in other people's lives? And I think that translation there and helping them actually have that permission to carry that forward to the people that they're involved with as well, whether it be middle management or clients, customers, whatever that looks like for you, but to remember people on a personal side. And again, it doesn't have to be something really expensive, but it has to be something more thought out than the normal tchotchke that we used to get at conventions and trade shows. And, our kids always liked it because I was like, Halloween, what did you get for us? And it ended up in their room. But having items that has an impact, that it tells someone that you're thinking of them, that you went to additional effort and additional expense, which is really, to me, not an expense, it's an investment.
mhm.
And when you have that, now it's more than words. We have to start showing physical representation in some way rather than just saying, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that can be really huge and powerful. Matter of fact, I think Shar, you had some innovation that was done in your business this year, where you were talking about creating more of a healthier environment, encouraging people to come into your store. You had phone sanitizers and so forth that one of your people recommended, and has been a big hit. Did you do recognition as a result of that, or for that?
Oh yeah, we had some great innovative ideas, like offering intangible things to our clients, like the electronic phone sanitizers that are super cheap. It's only like $40 or something. Uh, and that was, and then yeah, we obviously offered a gift card to a grocery store, because to the person that offered it, because obviously we all need some kind of groceries. But we've also done recently, I had a couple of sick employees that obviously were concerned about COVID. Luckily, only one of our employees ended up with COVID.
Hmm.
But the ones that were worried, we actually got Grubhub. So, we went online and got Grubhub certificates so that they could order some food for their families at, whatever restaurant they wanted, and have the credits to order, $100 worth of food for the houses.
Yeah.
And we've been doing even more recently, I talked about some of the online courses that, be it Audible, gift certificates, if anyone wants to have the online book to listen to, sending them a credit for that, or some of these online things like Masterclass I talked about that I've fallen in love with recently. Just some, and then it doesn't have to be like learning and development things for business. It could be personal things like cooking classes, or, classes on how to decorate, furniture, or anything that's beyond just business, but that really shows that you care about the employee from a personal perspective and what they really enjoy doing, their hobbies.
Right.
Do they
Mm.
like skateboarding? Do they like playing guitar? Purchasing a online lesson and sending that. So on the tangible gifts, I think we've been trying some of that. I do have some employees though that they're kind of reluctant for receiving things in the mail, and because of the, is it sanitized? you know, which sounds kind of odd, but okay, so you throw in the box with, whatever that tangible item is, and throw in some hand sanitizer and some wipes, you know, um, thinking about their safety. So, but I think that you can certainly get very creative, and you don't have to necessarily be in person to give them that particular gift or acknowledgement.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And I think one thing that you mentioned, the gift of now Grubhub, which is a food delivery service, right? And I'm sure that those are available around the world. Now, there's been a big trend this year, and those employees that have gotten sick and so forth, that's been a one thing that employers would send out the gift of having a meal delivered. So, I mean, when you're not feeling well, you don't want to cook and so forth. And it's often nice to have that being brought to your home. And so those type of programs have been so successful at some of my clients. They plan on continuing those in non-pandemic times. Just when people get ill or something like that at home, it's a nice gesture, and can make them feel like they're being thought of by their employer, those people that care. So yeah, great idea.
Well, and also services like, I've seen where for our nursing directors that were super bombarded and very busy, just getting them some maid services,
Mhm.
Purchasing actual services to help them clean their homes and helping with some of those basic necessities that we all need.
Yeah.
And then also I think for me that helps the local community with, with what they need to do as well. I think anything you can do locally to support the economy is kind of a win-win. It's a blessing for both the local people and also your employee or your business partner or whoever it is. So we work to do that as much as well.
Yeah. So social outreach, Gary, social outreach is something I've seen very grow a lot this year, of course, because it's been frankly very, very needed. Do you see some of the leaders that you're coaching, are they are thinking about those for 2021 as well?
Yes, and it's really about expansion. And it's not just doing a Facebook Live. It's not just doing a post on LinkedIn. It's about the consistency and putting out, again, good content.
Mhm.
This is one of those areas that where I think maybe we have gotten in times where it hasn't been as adverse as we gotten a little lazy, because I think maybe we don't know our clients as well as maybe we should or could. And what you guys were just talking about as far as, giving something meaningful to the employee, to the client, the customer. But if we don't know who they are, we don't know their likes or dislikes or their needs, how do we know what it is that's going to be meaningful to them?
Mhm.
And so this is really that opportunity. I remember back, I was hired as a consultant to one of the major, I'm not going to say the name, international banks. And they gave me a branch. It was a brand new branch. It was really struggling. And the first thing we did is I went in and said, what is the reason you came to work for XYZ Bank. And the manager said, why do we care? I go, watch. And we found that there was a person that wanted to build a dojo. He was a karate expert of some really obscure thing. There was a poet, there was a doctor, and these were all just, quote, employees of a bank. And once he understood, the manager, the needs and desires of why that person came to work every day, it wasn't to build the revenue of the bank. It was to fulfill their dreams and their needs and their desires. Their productivity, the production in the bank went up 30% in 30 days. And it was the only thing we switched. And when we have that kind of specific connection with the people that were around, now it's not just, again, getting a keychain and setting it out with the company logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really having a personal impact with that person and having a thought behind it, to where they realize that they're not just a number, that they truly are an integral part. Even if it's a very large organization, you could be breaking this down by division to departments and having everybody integrated into the whole, but what do they need in order for the organization to support all the different levels? And so this is, I think, an opportunity. We were talking about that before coming on the show as well. This is the things that we now have sometimes a little more time to do because we're not traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Just the adjustments. How do our clients, our employees, how do they want to be engaged?
Right.
How are they taking in information? Sure, the master classes, I love them. I mean, they're really, really, and think about this. The people that are doing master classes a year ago would not have time to do the master classes, but because they're shut down, they needed to find a way to put out information that would still be relevant. And so we're getting some of these things that just would not have happened if we had not had this. And now, believe me, I don't want this to continue. I didn't want it to start. This is not saying that let's have more adversity so we can have more creativity. It's not about that. But what is it that we can benefit from and also benefit those that we touch because of this? And having that specific focused idea of how can I make a difference today?
Right. I think
Well,
go ahead, Shar.
oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I think initially we were talking about goal setting, moving into the new year. And so, we're talking about development. And, I think what I'm hearing is we're talking about personalized, customized, intimate development moving into the new year. And we're just throwing out ideas right now. But, as we categorize how to get to know our people from a true standpoint, it might not necessarily be one app or one learning system or one program. But I mean, I think it's really like, how do we customize our new goals into the new year that's truly going to make a difference for that employee in an individual basis is going to resonate and be personalized, and that what they truly can be passionate about.
Mm-hmm. It's that Pareto principle, right? That 80-20 rule, that understanding what is the core of your business, or those core clients or employees that are really driving or making a difference in your space, whether it be impact on the organization or impact on the industry and so forth. And in the past, we've been, if you just look at how companies have marketed, I mean, it's just mass marketing, right? Send blast emails out and all this impersonal type of touch. And now what we found is what's most impactful is really getting to know your people, focusing on the core and developing relationships that matter. Would you agree with that, Gary?
Yeah, and what was occurring to me just then was, most of the time when we're looking at goal setting in any given year, it's around numbers. It's about how do we generate higher revenues? How do we generate higher profit margins? All of those things. And what we have the opportunity today is to go back to how do we impact more people with an organic relationship that increases revenue and profit margins. I think sometimes we have it backwards. The concept to start with the end in mind. Yes, we have, in my mind, we have to know what the goal is. We have to know where that, when we cross it, we don't know when to celebrate if we don't know what the goal is economically for any business. But as we break it back, is how do we have a bigger impact? Because is it something that, and this is a concept that I've really focused on my entire career. I do not want customers. I want clients.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is a relationship. And when you're there in the tough times, one of the things that I really connected to, during this time, is that if we had a product or service that was needed, desired before the pandemic, it is more needed and more desired now.
Yeah.
Now, the delivery of it is going to be different, but the goal setting process is going to have, I think, a different element to it this year, where probably it should have been an element all the way along, but how do we give a greater impact along with greater production? And so we're humanizing business again. If we look back in the 1800s, it was all about relationships. It was handshakes. It was, how do I support you without an agenda? I'm going to help this farmer, their barn burnt down, whatever that is within the community. And that's really one of the things that I'm really inspired by today, because I'm seeing businesses cross the aisle, if you will, and help other businesses in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches helping coaches, businesses, restaurants helping each other, collaboration. And because of that, we're coming out of this, I believe, stronger.
Yeah.
And with a impact that's going to be more than just a dollar and cent sign.
Right. Yeah, I've really seen that. Well, it's been advised to me by my coaches and consultants that I use, as far as finding those that biome, right? That those people that you can rely on and you do business with on a regular basis, and building those stronger relationships, and sharing successes with those people, and finding ways to help each other out. Exactly what you're saying, Gary.
I think something you just said really keyed in for me is, I think one of the leadership qualities in the goal setting for 2021 is going to be the ability to ask for help.
Yeah.
Is that if I have a need in my business, it's not to look good, smell good, and be broke, or the ship is going down and we're polishing the brass railing. It's truly saying, I need resources, I need help. Anyone out there that has ideas, solutions, concepts that would be beneficial. And because of that, we're going to come out looking stronger. It's not going to show that you're weak. In fact, there was a book that I read years ago, and there was a story about a number of contractors that were getting together at a mastermind. And they would start every mastermind with going around the room and putting on the table what they called their rock, their biggest mistake. And some guy would buy swampland, and another guy would buy, a granite slab that you couldn't build anything on or whatever. And they came around to the youngest person in the room, and he said, well, golly, I have never had anything go bad. Everything I've done has turned out. We've made a tremendous amount of money. And the oldest member turned to him and said, unless you have a rock to put on the table, there is no place at the table for you. And so, it's really something that when we realize it's the challenges, the mistakes that give us credibility, that give us value. And when we ask for help, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the biggest failure a lot of small business owners have that I've talked to, and even some medium-sized business leadership, is that the failure to delegate, the failure to ask for help, and to rely on those that have the expertise that can do the job so much better and so much more effectively. So in times of strain and stress and constraint and money, Sometimes leaders have the thought that, well, maybe we should do more ourselves. Maybe we should do this, and it's almost like a a head in the sand type of approach where we're stopping to innovate. We're stopping to look outside. We're stopping to delegate and to ask for help. I think those are the big risks that have happened this year, and leaders should prevent those from happening in the next year to come. Just as an example, just in my own personal business, really quick. I mean, the beginning of the year, things were. I mean, there was fear, panic, and then there was this silence as far as business, right? There was just everybody's like going, oh my gosh, let's just wait and see what's going to happen. And then towards the end of the year, everybody's like going, oh, the end of the year's coming, and we still need to get stuff done. And they were just running as fast as they could to complete the year, or to try to meet their goals that they could set. And they found out that they could achieve. And so, but that's a reason why we should never just stop. We need to continue to go forward. We may have to adjust our trajectory, but hiding or stopping in panic and avoid is not going to avoid the issue, right?
Well, I just want to explain my little paradigm shift as I talk about this particular topic. So as you all know, I relocated to Puerto Vallarta. As you all know, that we came down here, it's almost like jumping off a cliff. It's like a little risk-taking venture. You jump with the bungee cord. And we knew that we'd have internet down here. We knew that it'd be all right. But then once we got down here, we realized, wow, our internet connectivity is not all that great. So we happen to have a landlord who owns a boating company, a little teeny boating company. And he hadn't really relied on the internet so much, but, obviously with the COVID, not only has his little or his little boating company and the scuba company and the snorkeling company and the restaurants down off the beach, all started, seeing obviously major, impact to their business. It's funny because, here we are Americans. It's a little bit more personal when you see someone that can't cook at a restaurant because there's no patrons on the beach or be able to attract the tourists. So, I started talking to the internet guys, and then I started talking to the beach boat guys, and then I started talking to the landlord guys, and then next thing you know, it's like, wow, we need the internet guys to increase our internet speed, because now perhaps our boating and our scuba and our little restaurants here need to start looking at their technology improvements. And oh my gosh, we got some gringos here that are very used to using the internet and having everything at our little fingertips at all times. So I've been having all these very fascinating and a very fragmented language barrier kind of way of how can we all support one another. Of course, they don't understand what I do with these people strategy forums, but how can we utilize each other, the internet guy to get the tower on the hill to be able to improve the internet speed order to promote the restaurant on the beach, to promote the boating guy, the fact that the big resorts are not bringing in all the business, and how can we come together as a community that can barely communicate with each other? I mean, with using we're basically using nonverbals and trying to talk about how we're going to improve the connectivity to improve business, to drive in business. Oh, did you know that we can create a website? Oh, did you know that we can do a Facebook Live? Did you know there's ways to try to drive business to this little teeny beach out here in the middle of nowhere?
Sharing knowledge, right?
And what's crazy is that my lesson is I'm in a little microcosm, this little microcosm that really is the United States on a bigger scale. It's like, this is like the real side of building commerce in a real way of building connectivity and connection, to have this community way of helping each other drive business.
Yes.
And
I think, and just Oh,
I
go
don't
ahead.
think people would understand it until you really take yourself out of the element and truly live in a remote little area and really learn how this is going to work. And when you do that, when you take all the big businesses and everything else, oh my gosh, your mind expands
Hmm.
just exponentially. It's like, this is how we improve communication. This is how we improve community, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, I think we've seen that happen a lot just this year. I mean, with the forums and so forth. We brought on Sumit, which is in
Yeah.
India, and then we've had guests from all over the world. Judy McClutchin out of the Caribbean, in which she's brought up that very same idea, is the fact that they're hit by a hurricane or or COVID, and then they come under distress, and then when they find when they reach out to the broader market, they can share ideas they'll strengthen their business and attract people from further away to come to, like she was putting on a business forum, or in the school there, which she had some people attend internationally. So it's just a leveraging. I think what this 2020 has helped us do is put us in a stent of crisis to where we've opened our arms and have looked across cultures, looked across the world, and strengthened the way we do business.
Yeah, sure. I just had an idea for your scuba boating person, and
Yeah.
this is one of those things how we readjust. I'm guessing they have clients that have come back to them year after year that are no longer able to, or they're a little bit afraid. What if they created a little postcard? They put it in an envelope, but on the postcard they glue some of the beach, some of the sand onto the postcard with a note: "Your beach is still here and waiting for you to come home."
Love it.
That's a cool idea.
I
Love
mean,
it.
there's not going to be any more weight to it, but the actual beach on the card that's glued on it, it's just like, and that is something like what we were talking about before, that gift. It doesn't have to be a gift. It could be something that type of card could be put on the desk on a bulletin board, that now they're looking for when they can get back to the things that they enjoy. They want to go back to. I love Mexico. And it just, when we went to Aruba, one of the things that I did is I had a baggie, and I brought back a baggie of sand from Aruba, and I started giving it to clients, saying, "Hey, you want to go to Aruba? Here's and it's something that can be very meaningful." But this is something that just that representation could have an impact.
Yes.
See, you're a genius, Gary. See, that's a low cost. It's not like they have to invest in some big old
No.
website or some big social media platform. It's a simple postcard. I love it. That's a
Mhm.
great. I'm going to be sharing that one. I'm going to have to give you a copyright for that.
No worries. That's what the collaboration is all about, guys. This
Right.
is no agenda. When you come up with an idea, I call it a nudge. When I hear something in my head, I go, well, people say that's brilliant. I'm going, well, I don't know where it came from. It was an inspiration. And when we are really open and willing to share and impact others, that I more than likely will never meet the people that you are impacting down there. But if that one little idea can impact a family, impact a business that will stay open, it makes a difference. It's the butterfly effect.
Right.
We haven't talked
Yeah.
about the butterfly effect in forever, right? But it truly is that butterfly effect that we help one. We don't know where the domino effect of that is going to be at any point in time in the future.
That's right.
I
And
love
we are in our last
Perfect.
10 minutes. So I just wanted to point out to that very point there, Gary. I mean, if sharing ideas and so forth, and that's the reason why we put the that poll up for any of our listeners to set up some time with us so we can share ideas and innovate together. And so feel free, everyone out there, to utilize that. I'd love to hear from you, and it's just be great to share ideas and connect. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Gary, that's such a delight. I mean, those are just simple little ideas, and I'm always sitting down here and going, I see the little beachcombers on the beach and the vendors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity here. How can I make it easier for them? So
And the
those are
thing is,
big.
within certain economies, what we think in the United States is maybe a $10 difference. And in their economy, that is a week's worth of income.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, I have new clients in South Africa, and I realized I did some research. Their currency is 16 to 1 on the dollar. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just an amazing. They're hyperinflation. So helping someone down there earn $1 is $16 in their currency.
Right.
So we can make a major, major impact without having to spend millions and millions of dollars.
Hmm.
Right. I absolutely love it, Gary. And I'll be calling you if I meet some big time guys that would like to help you help us down here. Thank you.
Well, the big thing, I'm always open to you guys. So
Yeah, you've been awesome, very
it's
generous.
not the
We
big
love you.
guys.
We love you, Gary.
So as we wrap up, I just wanted to let all our listeners know about our, next week we're going to be talking about setting your professional goals. So how we talked this week about the leadership goals and thinking about how we should create themes for the business for next year. And so and next week, we're going to be talking to Julie Miller Davis, who's going to take that on a more of an individual, how do we plan for ourselves and in our own development and so forth. So in our next few minutes, if anybody has any questions or would like to ask Gary a question, please feel free to put that in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. So as we're waiting for that, I mean, is there what are the top things that you're thinking about for the new year that you plan on doing, Gary? What would you like to accomplish?
My word, everyone there's an old ritual of creating a word to live by for the year.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, and I created a word that will be my word forever, and that is expansion. It's touching more, helping more, just realizing that there's so much opportunity to make a difference today in just small ways that will have an impact. And maybe it's just giving permission to people for the ability to show up, to be, I call it a step into your life, be that celebrity, let people know that you're there. In the speaking world, the major stages have gone away this year, but I have spoken more this year than I have in the last 2 or 3 years. And it's an amazing opportunity and how we're doing it. But, the goal for me is to touch more lives, frankly. It's really to have, when I say touch, it doesn't mean maybe that major impact where you go, wow, it just, opened up the heavens and, rainbows came out. It's really about having that touch to give people traction. I've been known as a traction coach over the years, and it's just about momentum. It's not necessarily anything about speed, it's about movement. And when we can have an impact like that, the impact in our businesses individually will increase. There's some new programs that I'm going to be re-releasing this year. Back in the mastermind, some of the things that people have been asking for that I haven't had time to do. And now that I do. So to be able to bring back, the J. Paul Getty, find a need and fill it. If people are asking you for a certain product or service, my suggestion is allow people to, really have that ability to connect with you in the way they want to. So that may not be as specific as you were asking, but it's really about those opportunities to say yes and to have that as much of a human contact as we can.
Well, tell us, Gary, what are some ways that people can learn more about you and what you do and so forth?
Well, my website is Gary Barnes International, spelled out, and Barnes is Barnes, international spelled out.com. My email address, and I answer all my email personally, is Gary@GaryBarnesInternational.com. So I keep it very simple. And, you know, if people are looking at, I am still planning on doing the 3-day event twice a year that comes up in January. That'd be the next one. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do it in Colorado. Uh, but, you know, if anybody has a question, one of the things that I created years ago was called get statements. It's how to reprogram your brain for success. And around the first of the year, a lot of people are looking at how to develop goals. And for me, it's not just a goal. It's creating it to where it's now a vision, to where it's pulling you towards the reality of what you want to accomplish, not that you're going to it. It's a phenomenal deal. That the last book that I wrote called The Power of Get Statements. And so, you know, if anybody has a question, a resource question, I get all kinds of really unique. I was asked this morning by one of my clients, a resource into the movie industry. Somebody wanted to get back into acting and to be a stunt person, and it's a woman. And yeah, I have connections, and I made that connection this morning for him. So, you know, I love being a resource. I love being a connector.
I know that's for true. So I encourage people to sign up and get some time with Gary. So, well, great.
So I just want to have my mask on and say thank you.
That is a pretty sparkly mask you have there, Sean.
I tell ya.
It's my sparkly mask.
Yeah.
So we just want to say thank you so much, Gary. We so appreciate it. We really want to have you back.
Well, anytime, you know that.
And thank you so much for helping support our venture as well and our goals. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And so I guess we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, and I want to wish everybody a happy new year.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
And God bless and take care. And we love you all and enjoy your holiday. And we'll see you next year in 2021.
That's right.
We will accomplish.
Cheers. Everybody enjoy. All right, take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye.